Catchy tune, catchy tune. Hey, everybody. I'm not John, but I'm on the show. And I'm on most every week. Hi, I'm Mark David Smith. I know it doesn't say that down there because I don't have a problem wearing pink, to tell you the honest to God truth. So that's my name today. Hey, there he is. I'm filling in for John and Sandy, who has decided to go on vacation. And quite honestly, I think they do go on vacation about, what is it, maybe 362 days out of the year. I don't know how many days in the year are there, but I think they're on vacation most of the time. I think when they're not on vacation, then they're working. But anyway, no, I'm giving them a hard time. So they're out enjoying themselves because they work very hard. They have a congregation in Amarillo, Texas, and they work very, 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 very hard at that congregation. And so, and John holds down a full-time job besides, and I mean full-time. That man, realistically, if you watch this show on a regular basis and you notice that there are a few weeks during the year that we don't do a show or I play an archive. The reason for that is because John's working and, other things going on, and the rest of us just decide that, we're not going to host the show. This week I decided to because there are special circumstances going on within the Lamb Network that I want to bring out and talk about. And I have a couple of guests with me today. Eddie and Tammy aren't here. I guess Eddie has been feeling under the weather, and I was really, really, really hoping that he was feeling up to par today and was going to join us, but apparently not. So, and they have literally the worst internet, I think, on the planet, and they have to use, I think, hotspots or something to even come on the show. And so that's rough. It's too bad. But we love having them on. And if you're a regular viewer here, then you know why. I mean, they enter a lot of stuff in. But that being said, and because I'm not John, we're going to switch the show up a little bit today. And of course, anybody that's seen me before knows, and I was just telling Shell beforehand that I'm a little random. Now Daryl thinks that I am extremely organized, and when I do a show, then everything is perfectly in place, like Daryl is. But I'm not. I'm pretty random. If you've seen any of my shows, and Daryl's been on a few of my shows, and he knows that I'm not all my ducks in a row. It's just whatever happens and whatever is said happens and is said. So that's what we do. We pick a topic. We pick whatever we want to pick. We don't pick our nose. We refrain from that. I like that old saying, you pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friends. Is that a Midwestern saying? I mean, I've said it out here on the East Coast before, and they're going, what? No, I mean, it's a very well-known saying in the Midwest. I mean, I grew up with that, and we just take it for granted. That's kind of the way life is. But once again, I'm Mark David Smith, and I'm usually on this show I'm up usually in the little box in this corner right here, or down in the center down here, and of course John and Sandy are up in there, but so we just got boxes. We just all trying to fit into a box. That's really the way it works, is that we're all just trying to fit into a box. And so I take advantage when I get Gosh, these things are so, when I get the big box, where I'm like this, but of course I don't, I have no problem wearing pink. So, I'm wearing pink and that's my name. So, hey, looky there. Hey, Daryl. Hi, Daryl.
Morning.
What's up, Leroy?
How are you?
I'm blessed of the Lord. Can't you see the glory of the Lord coming down on my head here? See, I just opened the roof of my house and the glory of the Lord comes right on down on my head.
Ah, okay.
That's what that
Very
is.
good.
Yours comes in through your window.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So doesn't Melena like pull your shades when you do your show on the Sabbath or something and kind of keep that from coming in too heavy on you? Because you're standing up and you're back farther and everything, and so did she pull the shades or do you or do you?
Yeah, we get the lighting just right. I've got professional lighting here for the show. This is I take my show seriously.
What?
Not this one.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I really appreciate that. Wow. Okay. Well, I have a light up here, but it's old and messed up and everything. And I got a couple of windows here that are open, but it's real cloudy. So that just doesn't work.
There you go.
So anyway, hey, life is good. And Daryl has a new show that we're going to talk about this morning. So we should have had Deb on. I am so sorry. I should have planned that earlier, but I'm a little out of sorts lately.
It's all right. They'll get to know her soon enough.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's all right. I like that. Well, you're starting your new show in a week plus a few hours.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit this morning because that's what I'm doing on the show. I'm not doing John stuff. I'm doing pink stuff is what we're going to do. Everything's going to be pink today. And your show is pink. See, so, that's, you have a woman on the show with you that makes the show pink.
Uh-huh.
You didn't know that, did you?
No, but we'll roll with it.
You see, I've tried to be like Alan so you feel comfortable.
What makes you think I was? Never mind.
Been a while since you've done morning discussion shows, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it has. All right. Well, all right. Well, loosen up, Daryl. Come on, loosen up. Things are good. Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. Well, we're good now. All right. Well, I also have Shell Wagner with us today.
Hello.
Shell, meet Daryl. Daryl, meet Shell.
Hi, Daryl. So nice to meet you.
Good morning. Good to meet you too.
Shell's good friends with Nitsa Moshe. And Nitsa and I have been friends since I think before time. We've had a lot of different things we've worked on, and I just met Nitsa in person for the first time at Sukkot this past year, just a few months ago. But yet we have known each other good 10 years. And have never actually met, but much love the internet. Daryl and I had never met. We've known each other, 14, 34, at least maybe 40 years, maybe. I don't know, something like that. No, 4 years. I don't know. How long have you been on Lamb, Daryl?
Yeah, be 4 years in April.
4 years, and see, he keeps track of those things. All of Daryl's ducks are in a row, Shell. So
wow.
Don't be too random for Daryl. That just sends him in random mode. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm a lot like you, Mark. You just kind of never know what you're going to get. It can be pretty random.
That's right. That's right. And Daryl has read every single book on the shelves back there. problem is about 3/4 of those books are fake. You know, you can buy these little panels of books that you can slip in your bookshelves, and some of them, if you pull them down, they open up a separate little door. The bookshelf opens up, and he's got secret compartments back.
It's like
there.
a tunnel. Yeah.
I have a bat cave.
You have a bat cave back there, really?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
You know, secretly, I'm a multi-billionaire with all kinds of toys down in the cave down, and I fight crime too.
Daryl, everybody already knows that. I know you think it's secret, but everybody already knows that. Okay?
All the secrets are out, huh?
And nobody recognizes me through the mask either.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so
it's like Clark Kent. He put on his glasses. Nobody knew he was Superman.
Yeah, that's right. It's just amazing. It really is. So, you know, hey, and we're all comic book characters somewhere down the line, I think.
You got that some kind of right.
Well, we're going to play a little promo from each of these show and talk about that stuff. But first of all, kind of keeping a little bit with John's format, do you guys know what blood type you are?
I do.
Daryl, do you?
Yep.
I don't. I have no idea what my blood type is. Dawn and I were just talking about this yesterday, and it's kind of like, you know, I'm sure I've been told. I've been in the hospital, I've been to the doctor and all that, and I've seen my records, kind of health records, kind of sometimes, and I'm sure I've seen it, but I have no idea what my blood type is. So, you know, is that real important that we know what our blood type is? Do you think?
I don't know. I know that I've been probably on every diet in the world. And one of them was Dr. Diadamo, eat by your blood type. So I had to find out what that was.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I've never heard of that. Daryl, have you heard of that before? You eat according to your blood type?
Yeah, certain blood types have different requirements. Like I know, for instance, my blood type requires more iron than my wife, so I tend to eat more meat than she does.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why I do these shows, because I learn during these shows. And so would it make a difference in your taste buds then, and what you taste, you think? Or probably don't know that, because, you know.
I don't know if it's so much the taste. I think it's more about what the body craves.
Yeah.
What kind of nutrients and stuff like that.
How interesting. Wow, I didn't know that. I guess it would be a good thing for me to find out what my blood type is then, and kind of go that way. I mean,
mine is blue.
What's that?
Mine is blue.
Your blood type is blue?
Yes.
Yeah, mine's got to be in the violet range somewhere in there.
Really?
Yeah, I got to do more protein too.
So were you like a cop in another life, Daryl, or something?
Royalty. There you go.
A what?
Royalty.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, royal. Okay, well, mine's just red. I've seen mine plenty of times. You know, comes out and it's just stinking red. So, you know, that's my blood type. But what's your blood type? Red. What's your? You know. So,
what kind of car do you want? The red one.
Red one. That's right. That's right. I like it. That's real good. Well,
my first car was apple red.
What was your car?
My first car was apple red.
Really?
It was. I had my first car was a 1966 red Mustang. It had been passed down from my older brother, so it had glass packs on the back and all this funky stuff on it. I was the envy of the high school parking lot.
Wow, how cool. Oh, we're you want to talk about random. We are gonna go on a rabbit trail right now. And Daryl, what color was your first car? What kind of car was it?
What was my first
I'm
car?
trying to think mine too.
I think it was it's a white Chevy Chevette, if I remember correctly. I had a vet.
And a bat. Shabat or a
Yeah.
bat? And what color was it?
It was a white one.
White one.
Yeah.
I had a beige Volkswagen Bug. My dad used to build dune buggies. And so, and of course, dune buggies, most all dune buggies are built out of old Volkswagens. You use the chassis out of it and the motor and everything. And then you either put a body on it or you don't. You make the frame and everything like that. And they hold up like crazy for dune. But my dad used to race dune buggies, and we were near a huge sand national park that was, acres and acres of sand and dunes, and people would go there and run their dune buggies all over the place all the time. My dad was actually very famous for running dune buggies. Everybody knew him as Smitty, and he would build dune buggies for people. They come from but my first car when I was in high school is he literally built a dune buggy. He had beefed up the frame and everything, and then put a regular Volkswagen Bug body over the top of it. Well, the motor was all beefed up, man. I mean, with the big pipes coming out of it and everything. So you'd see this beige Volkswagen Bug going down the road, but whenever I gunned the gas, it was like, so it was, scared you a little bit. But and you're talking about high school. I used to ride with a friend of mine. We'd switch off going to school in our cars, and he had this beat up old station wagon. And he had an 8-track player with massive speakers in the back of this station wagon. So in the morning going to high school, we would drive through the parking lot of the high school playing Jimi Hendrix's Star Spangled Banner. So everybody could hear, hey, we got the school spirit. We're just like, parking lot of school. So we had a blast with that. You bring stuff up, you're going to go anyway. So I wanted to play you guys a song that has to do with your blood type. So I'm gonna play it here for you. Hope you can hear it. Okay. I think you'll like this.
The more you give, the more you give, the more you live, the more you live. Your happiness is there with you.
Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
It's your prerogative.
All right, there you go. So, we go through life, and if you feel like crap, then bring it back, because it's your prerogative to be positive.
It certainly is.
There
It certainly is. I was reading something about that last night. I was thinking about how we tell our stories, right? And, our perspective, and how we tell them. The perspective that we bring to our stories can even sometimes change our story.
Okay. In other words,
yeah. So this is what I was thinking about. I was thinking about the whole concept of like forgiveness, right? So if I've lived in a certain perspective, say maybe something happened to me, right? And I've lived with a certain mindset about that. And I've told myself this story inside my own mind over and over and over again. So this to me is how the story goes. Well, so if I want to change my story and get a different viewpoint, maybe have a different outcome, what I do, jump into the other person's part of the story and maybe start viewing it from their perspective and say, can I change my story so that I'm able to walk in a different mindset, like that mindset of forgiveness, because I've been thinking about the story from the other person's viewpoint.
Well, you're not talking about embellishing the story to make
no. Trying to get
certainly none of us ever do that. Yeah. Right, Daryl? We never embellish stories, do we?
Not in Canada, we don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. My microphone was clear over on the other side of the computer. Can you hear me better? Not in Canada, huh? In Canada. No. No.
We never do that. I mean, have you seen our prime minister? He's as straight shooter as they come.
Absolutely.
I've seen him. I've just never paid attention to him. Kind of like
yeah, don't bother. You're not missing anything.
We'll get into politics later, Daryl.
Sure. Okay.
Well, that's interesting. So your perspective on how you tell your story is based on what you want, the point you want to get across. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, I think it's more a question of, do I want to live in slavery or freedom? You know, if I've told my story and I say, you know, like I need to forgive something, but I'm having a hard time with it because darn it, I was right and they were wrong, you know? So if I want to get past that and actually try to walk free from that stuff, sometimes I've got to change positions in my story and get a different perspective. And, you know,
I see.
Well, you know what's always been interesting to me is every time that we're watching Yahusha as he goes and he changes lives and performs miracles. Well, what always he looked upon them with compassion. Mm-hmm. So there's just a different vantage point, different viewpoint. If I'm going to try to be light in this dark world.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that. That sparks a question for me that I'm real interested in hearing from different people. Has anybody ever solicited a sorry from you? In other words, they found something that they think you did wrong in their eyes, and they came to tell you about it so you would tell them you were sorry.
Oh, yeah.
You ever heard of that? Daryl, have you? Can you think of Daryl's? I can see Daryl's wheels turning here, trying to remember. See, can you think of a time when somebody was trying to manipulate you into saying you're sorry, or from their perspective? When she said perspective, it's like, actually it's from their perspective that you did something wrong, though it doesn't necessarily mean you did anything wrong, but they want and I'm sorry for it. Daryl, as many times as people have crossed you, surely you can think of one time.
Well, listen, Matthew 18 very clearly deals with that. If your brother offends you, go to him. Whether it was, whether it was legitimate or not, whether it actually happened or not, or whether it's perception of the offense, because sometimes you don't know, and sometimes it wasn't intended, but it doesn't really matter. If someone has an offense, then you have to address it, and they need to be placated and satisfied that either it's explained properly or forgiveness is transacted.
I see. So is it apropos, so to say, to that for instance, that you then literally have to tell them sorry for what you did, even though in your perspective, you didn't do anything wrong?
Well,
Yeah,
not
I want to hear
necessarily.
you. What?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
If it's a misconception, now you can say, I'm sorry you were offended, but I'm not going to apologize for something that I didn't do. I'm not going to repent and ask for forgiveness for something. It could be that they didn't see things correctly. So there's a difference between, letting them know that you understand what they're feeling, as opposed to taking responsibility for something you didn't do.
Shell,
I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that because, I know for myself, I have to remain authentic. I can't become a liar to my own self just to placate somebody else, but to let someone else know, listen, I heard you, and I do honestly care that hurt you, and I would like to see us be able, to move past this, because certainly not, it wasn't intended that way. And everybody likes to be heard. I think sometimes, a lot of times, the healing in relationships just comes from the fact that, somebody else, their perspective was at least heard and recognized. There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. I used to be a part of a local, congregation, probably 15 to 20 of us. And I did something to a lady, and we were good friends with her and her husband. And I mean, you'd been to their house several times and everything, but she had a tendency to be offended quite easily, and it was her offenses. I mean, it was her perspective, like what you were talking about, Shell. It was her perspective on what things were. Didn't. I mean, we were noticing a pattern of the fact that she would just come up with stuff that, like, you did this and all, and she had no problem going to you and telling you did this and all this kind of stuff. Well, they called my wife and I over to their house one night and laid it all out and everything, and I knew exactly what had happened, and I didn't do anything wrong, and I was not going to admit to a wrong, and I was not going to apologize for doing it when I had not done anything wrong. We went through the whole thing. Yeah, I'm sorry you were offended by that, but I'm sorry you get offended so easy, on stuff like that. And they were just blown away that I wouldn't apologize for it. Blown away by it. I mean, it was just like they literally kicked us out of their house and went back and told the whole congregation what we had done and the whole thing. And it was like, anyway.
Do you ever remember reading a book back in the 90s? John Bevere did this book called The Bait of Satan. And
I remember that book. I know John Bevere. I've met him before. Great guy, but
it was an incredible book.
Yeah.
It was all about how offense, when you break down the word in the Greek, and I can't tell you what that Greek word was, but it was what would be put in the middle of a trap to try to get the animal to stick its leg in there, or so that it could get, so that the trap could close. And so, I mean, I thought that was eye-opening. Sometimes what is happening within the body, and how our enemy is constantly trying to get us to take that bait so that we can get trapped by it.
Interesting. I like that. That's that's true. That's a true perspective. It's happens to us all the time. Anyway, I have a tendency to just not give in to people, and I won't say I'm sorry for things that I don't believe I did wrong. You know, I hate it. I hate offending people, and you know, I have a tendency to try to stay away from people I know are easily offended. You know, if you're, I mean, now, my wife says I'm the princess and the pea. You know, I mean, it doesn't take anything for me to, you know, be, you know, put aside or something, you know, with things. But anyway, I'm always interested in hearing other people's perspective on this type of scenario, because you know, I think we all go through these type of things in our lives, and we all know people that just want to find fault from their own perspective. So very interesting. I like that. Very good. All right.
Well,
Go ahead, Daryl.
It's primarily a matter of boundaries. And
Sure.
I think one of the biggest, certainly in my 20 plus years of ministry, what I've noticed is that one of the biggest struggles the body has is the lack of understanding of biblical boundaries. And I'm constantly trying to teach people that. And people, they learn slow.
I would be one of those.
Now, that's a generality that I don't necessarily agree with. I think that there are some people that different people learn at different rates of speed. That's all there is to it.
I'm talking about the body as a whole. It doesn't understand boundaries.
I will agree with that. Yeah.
And you know what? Conflict resolution is one of the poorest skills within the body. And it's because nobody is being discipled on this stuff.
True that.
And I've had to have so many sit down meetings with people on this and try to explain to them what the biblical perspective. I mean, who gives a rip what my feelings are on them? My feelings are irrelevant, but it's what God thinks about the whole thing. And he's laid out ways for us to address these things. You have Matthew 18, you have the whole thing. If your brother is offended, you drop your offering, you don't, you know, just carry on, and you go reconcile with him, even if it's to explain things. But also people have a huge problem with boundaries, and in the personalities, as you've studied somewhat, Mark, you've got some personalities that are people pleasers, and so they let people walk all over them. And then you've got some personalities that don't respect boundaries, and they just go trampling all over people. And you got to kind of help those people understand what the boundaries are. And you have to help the people who don't set boundaries very well to toughen up. My wife was a classic example. She tells people all the time, she was a doormat when I met her. And coming from Eastern Europe and having very strong-willed parents, especially the mother-in-law, mine. And you know, one of the first things I did when we, you know, were making plans to get married, it was just like, well, this is what the boundaries are, and you don't cross those. And man, oh man, you should have seen the fireworks that caused. But it was like, this is not your life, honey. It's mine.
Yeah.
And it took years for my wife to learn this stuff. And it stood her in good stead, because once we got into ministry, man, oh man, if you don't have boundaries, they're going to eat you alive. They'll be like a Fauci experiment.
Sometimes the sheep bite.
By the way, if you missed Daryl's show last Sabbath, once again, Daryl skirted, and actually just, I don't even want to say it, but let me put it this way, and I had to put this in the chat last week during your sermon last week, is that if you don't find us on YouTube next week, you can always find us on the website. There, if you missed last Sabbath, you got to go back and listen to it, because they're all good, and you always skirt the issues, Daryl, and I love it. But anyway, Daryl teaches Torah Portion, but also other things on his show every Sabbath. Ruach HaEmet, and it's always good. It's very good. We probably pack it out more than any other show that we do, and Daryl is very good at relating these things, and I love it. And I have to come in there and monitor his chat room because people like to scatter things pretty good, and we get trolls and that type of thing. But so if you miss it, it's a noon Eastern time. Look on the website for the schedule. By the way, on the website under the schedule, I have a new on-demand feature. So every one of our shows, you can go back and listen to each show individually using our on-demand feature underneath the schedule on the homepage. And it will, for instance, like all of today's shows won't be available till tomorrow, but all of Sunday's shows are available right now. So you can see the schedule, you can see what we're doing, the schedule, and then underneath that is all the on-demand features. So matter of fact, if you want to go watch Shell's new show, Heart of the Tribe, and Daryl's show of last Saturday, you can go watch it right now. It's right there on the homepage. So speaking of all of that, I'll get to Daryl. Ladies first here. Shell just started her brand new show last Thursday, and check the schedule for when it comes on. And it replayed again last night, by the way, Shell. So
I saw that.
Rebroadcast of that is on last night. And so we're going to get Shell to tell us a little bit about our show. Right after this, I'm going to play her quick intro here real quick.
I've been asleep, head in the sand, watching the time just ticking. Clock runs around, days in and out, can't really call it living. Somewhere I let light go dark, but here's where my new story starts. Take my life.
That is one of those songs that plays in my head when I lay my head down on my pillow at night. I can't. I have to settle my head because my head's going.
I love that song. I do. You know, it ends with, take my life and let it be set on fire for all to see. And I guess that's talking about my show. I don't have any special degree. I'm not an expert in anything. But I have survived a lot of trauma. I've lived two completely different lives, but I led a very dark life prior to coming to know Yahusha. And it's been amazing, the transformation. And music is one of the things that has healed me. Just dancing before the Lord has helped heal me, and taking his word and letting it be like Fuller soap on my mind has just totally transformed me out of one life into another.
Wow. That's great. I love it. By the way, I used to sell Fuller brushes. Daryl's not old enough to remember that stuff. So tell us, what is the Heart of the Tribe?
Well, the Heart of the Tribe, in my story, when right after salvation, I came in, and right away I was kind of plugged into doing things. I was part of a small church, and we mainly ministered to the homeless and to bikers, and they made me the music minister, not because I had any qualification whatsoever, but because I was willing. And so it was wild. And as music transformed me, I got my early foundation there, and some really good leadership and teaching and healing. And And then I was had gone on from there, and I was made the fine arts pastor of a fairly large church, and I was leading a play. I worked for the worship pastor, and I was leading a play in front of the singing Christmas tree about the time that the Father started revealing Torah to me. And I was having convulsions trying to lead the singing Christmas tree and yet trying to start wrapping my brain around the feast. So anyway, it became not a good fit for me to stay where I was. And I came home and I quietly was kind of like, okay, I've gone from this life to where I was so involved and had all these friends. And now I'm sitting here by myself going, teach me how to rest. I don't even know what that means. What do you do? I remember just like taking my lawn chair outside on Friday night and sitting there and going, okay, I'm here, but I don't know what to do beyond this. But I continue
You
to
sound like
do
my
it.
wife talking about me. That's exactly it. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's all right. And so, one of the things that I found was online. I found Eddie Chumney on Pal Talk. We were talking about that a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And so I started listening to some really good teaching and started learning some basic things. And, but I was lonely. I didn't have a group to connect with. And one night I was up and I was just studying, and I was trying to study Torah, trying to understand. And I started reading Genesis 49. And I saw where it said, gather yourselves together, and I shall tell you what shall befall you in the latter days. And I went, wait a minute. What are you talking about, the latter days? And I just had that impression in my spirit to where it felt like the impression was all the tribes are alive and well on planet Earth, and there's a heart cry within them as the people of Yah that are going to come back together and learn how to live in unity. And so that became the heart of the tribe message for me. That very night, I do artwork. I get healed through artwork. And so I made a banner and wrote out a psalm that would match with the tribe of Zebulun, according to what I was seeing out of Genesis 49. I was able to, the Father was just showing me, it's right here. You can hear the heart cry of my people.
How interesting. Really good. I like it. I've had a lot of the similar background. We were talking the other day about teachers that we've known and listened to learn from. And there are just countless numbers of things that you can relate to when it comes to the tribes. As a matter of fact, very early on in my Messianic walk, we were with groups of people that would talk about the different tribes and the attributes and characteristics of each different tribe, and could relate that to individual people. As a matter of fact, I had a congregation, I went to a congregation one time that talked about this in depth, and once they found out about me, they had said, well, had you been living back in the day, there is a possibility that maybe you were from the tribe of Zebulun, and now I have to admit, I think it's a little far-fetched sometimes when people get into all of those different things, like saying, oh, well, you're this type of person, you're from the tribe of Zebulun, and sometimes it's fun to deal with, but I don't pay it a lot of value in those things, though. I see what they're talking about. I think that's good, but I don't know. Should we? My question is, maybe to even both of you, should we care or even be aware of the attributes and characteristics of each tribe and see if we fit that? Is that excuse me? Sorry. is that something that is of value? I mean, Shell, what do you think? I mean, is it something that we should place a lot of value on, is knowing those things and see if we think we come from that tribe or not?
You know, when I look at it, every single tribe, there can be all kinds of wonderful attributes, and then there can be, liabilities, just like any person, right?
Sure.
And so for
Good
me,
point.
the interest has always been, being able to look at different personality types. I mean, one of the things that I really noticed in the church system is I always felt like people were kind of put into one box. This is the way we act. This is the way we're supposed to be, and everything. But everybody's personality is very different. And I don't know whether it's so important for me to know which one I am, as long as I'm in one of them.
Uh-huh.
And I definitely believe it is a heart line, not a bloodline,
Very good.
for this. But it can help me understand other people and have more tolerance for a different personality than mine, and hopefully get along a little bit better. I also see that, to me, the Savior is the best out of every tribe. Every good attribute, he's got them all.
Right. Right.
So, but I find it interesting in that way to just have more tolerance and be able to get along better with all kinds of people. That when I had read the Stones Humash, it talked about there was the tribes were like having a spoke in the wheel, and that if you take one spoke away, that wheel's not going to turn right. And that really resonated with me, because we need all the spokes.
That's a good point. I like that a lot. Well, it's kind of like what we've been talking before about different personalities and traits and things like that, and how they deal with even forgiveness or other people and things like that. Daryl, what do you think? Is it good to relate that way, and should we find it of great importance and delve into seeing which tribe we're from and all of that kind of thing? I mean, it's nice to understand the culture, but is that really that big a deal that we should do that? You think?
Well, I think this is actually something that I'm going to be dealing with in my next book, is the whole identity crisis. And when Gentile believers come into the Messianic movement, all of a sudden it seems like a lot of them just short circuit and want to start being what they're not. From my perspective, Gentiles aren't part of any tribe. They're part of the Commonwealth. They're grafted in. I don't know what tribe I'm from. I have no idea. And I'm not about to go take any kind of blood test or DNA thing or anything like that to find out, because in the end, what difference does it make? I think you start getting into stuff like that, and it's tantamount to astrology. Well, I'm Scorpio, so I have these characteristics. Well, there's lots of Scorpios that have all kinds of characteristics. And a big ball of burning gas in the sky doesn't determine your personality nor your future. I mean, it's that's the classic definition of occultism. And so when you have people doing that within the Torah movement, I think it really, number one, it doesn't accomplish anything. And number two, I think it can really cause a lot of problems, because I have said this probably a gazillion times. I quote Stephen Covey. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Right.
And so whether you're getting into things like sacred name, whether, another big thing within the Torah movement is the whole flat earth thing. Listen,
I love it.
You want to believe that the earth is a certain shape, knock yourself out. It does not change the time it took me to get from Niagara Falls to Toronto. Okay. Whether it's, right. And I find that within the Torah movement, there's so many people who get caught up in this stuff. And really, when you take a step back, in the end, what difference does it make? What difference does it make if you really are from the tribe of Zebulun, which Gentiles can't be? They're not physically Jewish. And it's very clear within Scripture that people have to, like, when it talks about the tribes of Israel, this is where the Jehovah's Witnesses go off track.
That's
in
true.
Revelation. You know, the 144,000. Well, which tribe are you from?
That's very
like,
true. Yes, right.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, does this have anything to do with salvation? Does it have anything to do with our faith walk? And if the answer is no, then it's probably not important. Would it be interesting for me as a physical Jew to find out what tribe I'm from? Sure it would. But in the end, it's not really going to make a difference as to how I walk, because even if you look in Scripture, the tribe of Judah that's the kingly tribe, and Caleb is from the tribe of Judah. But then we have a guy by the name of Achan kind of squished in there. And so just because he was from a particular tribe did not, number one, negate him from doing something heinous and bringing judgment upon the whole nation. And number two, it ended up costing him his life.
Yeah,
so
good point.
Did what tribe he was from benefit him? No, because he still had individual responsibility. I think this whole thing is just a huge distraction and you know, I feel very strongly about this, well, as with a lot of things, but the reason why I feel strongly about this is because I think it does so much damage to the Great Commission and what we're really supposed to be focusing on.
It's very true. Very, very.
For me, it's about my relationship. Am I walking according to Torah? Am I loving my wife? Am I loving my son? Am I keeping my household good? Am I being a good witness in my neighborhood? Am I being obedient to God? And am I being conformed to his image? Regardless of where I might or might not have started out is absolutely irrelevant. You know, Kung Fu Panda 2. I love the Kung Fu Panda movies. The character Michelle Yeoh played, the old soothsaying goat, she says to Poe, she says, you might not have started at the beginning, or you might not have started off well, but that doesn't change what you could be. I'm paraphrasing. So where you started off from, you know, Shell was talking about the really dark life that she led before she came to Yeshua. Well, you know what? That totally transformed, because that's kind of the business that he's in. So if you look at her life now, it was totally irrelevant where she started off from. It's the point is what is he doing with us now? And there are so many examples of these things within the Torah movement, the Messianic movement, the Hebrew roots, whatever you want to call it. And it's just, to me, it's just one big distraction. It gets people, you know, chasing off after wild rabbits to find, you know, some secret knowledge that they can sit there and boast about. I'm from the tribe of this. Okay, but you're still a jerk. So what?
So what you're saying is it's not really all that great of a lead in when you're out evangelizing to say, hey, brother, do you know what tribe you're from? You know,
no.
See, that could start a good conversation, though, Daryl. You know, come on.
Well, it's good for party tricks, sure, but
Shell, you got to understand, I've known Daryl long enough to know how to bait him. I already knew his answer to this, but I love to bait Daryl because I know where he's going to go with it. And speaking of that, because he brought it up, let's take a look at this. Explaining the way of God. Explain to me the way of God, Daryl.
Torah. The commandments.
So is that all the books of your pages? It just says Torah, 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 Torah.
Yeah, it'd be about 200, 210 pages, depending on the final edit, and every word on every page is Torah. That's
Torah.
the only
It says Torah, Torah. So
yeah. No, what the book does is it looks at all of the not all of them, but a lot of the practices that we have within Christianity today. And it lines it up with what the scriptures say regarding our faith walk. See, in the Greco-Roman mindset, the most important thing is gnosis. It's about knowledge. It's about doctrines. It's about creeds. It's about theology. It's about, what we know. In the Hebraic way of thinking, it's all about halakha. It's about how we walk. It's about what I've said for many years, God doesn't care about what you know. He only cares about what you do with what you know.
Mm-hmm. And
Christianity has been hijacked for centuries now, as we got into the book, on some of its doctrines and practices. And there are now things within our what we consider to be Christian culture that are actually offensive to God and harmful to us. And the question I begin asking is, why are we so powerless in being able to transform society? Why aren't we being able to impact culture as opposed to culture impacting us? Why are there thousands of denominations and tens of thousands of derivatives of those denominations? Why is there so much division within the body when Yeshua says in John 17, I pray that they are one so that the world might know that you sent me?
Right.
And so what the book does is it tries to take a very both a theological and historical look at where these practices came from. So the first chapter I start off with is on antinomianism, which is probably the biggest one within Christianity. Gentiles don't have to keep the law, or Christians don't have to keep the Torah, because whether you're Jew or Gentile, and this is kind of the Hebrew Christian model, they don't believe that. So you got whole organizations out there that have Jewish believers, and they're big on what tribe they're from, but they don't keep the commandments. And so I begin to address where all that came from. And then I talk about Saturday versus Sunday. I talk about the feast days. I talk about the traditions of men, pagan holidays. I talk about the food command. So I go after all of the sacred cows, as it were, within Christianity. Where do the big arguments happen with what Christianity practices and what the Torah says, and the rest of the scriptures too. I mean, I quote a lot from Paul and try to explain, because even Peter says in 2 Peter 3:14 that the words of Paul are difficult to understand, and untrained and unstable men, I can't remember the exact word that he uses, but they twist them to their own destruction. And I think a lot of what Christianity is doing is it's twisting the words of scripture and leading us to destruction. And the reason why I say that is because if we don't walk in obedience, what is coming upon the world is going to be more and more costly. Up until now, I think very recently, lack of obedience has resulted in maybe lack of blessing. Maybe it's resulted in lack of peace. Maybe it's lack of favor. But with the way the enemy is moving now, lack of obedience is literally going to cost people their lives. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping to avoid that. I want to see Christianity come back to be a force of power on the earth that the enemy trembles at. When Yeshua said that the gates of hell will not prevail against us, that means we're attacking. That means we're going into fortresses of darkness and we're tearing the whole thing down, and we're bringing Yeshua's light into it. And I think that what the book honestly tries to do is address those practices which are preventing us from doing so. So that's what the book is about. I hopefully will be getting in touch with the publisher today to discuss the next part of the process, which is to get the book edited professionally and out to market, maybe even by next month.
Wow, by next month. Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that real big time. I love it, brother. Very good. So your new show that you're doing with Deb, and I can't pronounce her last name. What's her last name? Can you?
Celeb Haig.
What is it?
Celeb Haig.
Celeb Haig. Hey. Okay. I see. I can't. I've heard her say it several times, and I still didn't hear it as clear as I did you. So, well, let's give it. You got a new show coming up a week from today at I think it's 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, on Mondays.
On Mondays. Let's give a little promo here. We'll talk about it.
Shalom, I'm Daryl Weinberg.
Hi, I'm Debbie Celeb.
Two Jews, Three Opinions is our new show that looks at the world through the eyes of Jewish people.
And whether we're discussing current events, prophecy, Israel in the news, or Bubby's favorite recipe that we've just felt over and thinking about, this is the show for you.
Each week, we're going to look at the world, and whether we say Baruch Hashem or Oy Gewalt, you'll get the goods straight from the horse's mouth.
And would we lie to you?
Chas v'chalila, heaven forbid we should.
On our show, we're going to talk. That's what we do well. We talk. No matter what the subject, we will talk about it. I'm sure we all have opinions.
Since the Bible is our favorite book about our favorite person, Yeshua the Messiah, what we talk about will center around him. No matter what the subject, we want to know what God has to say about things, because his opinion is the only one that matters. Well, and my wife's too.
Funny. We'll meet each week here on Messianic Lamb Network on Mondays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And who knows, maybe we'll have a guest or two on.
How many opinions will that give us, Debbie?
Don't ask.
If you're looking to find out what's going on with a little humor and a bizzle of zest thrown in, this is the place to be.
So please, join us on Monday evenings so that we don't feel lonely, okay?
Two Jews, Three Opinions. You don't want to miss it. Shalom. See you then.
Shalom.
Another one of them songs that go, you wanted light music, you got it. My favorite part, man, and I just absolutely couldn't resist, is the Mel Brooks going, well, baby. I just couldn't resist. It was so good. So
a little Fagula, yeah.
I just love making up those promos, man. That's one of my.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then Milena, facing you and everything was real good. It was perfect. So anyway, so this is good, and so it's not a whole lot different than what you dealt with in your book. But it's more of the two of you being able to relate, and you've been able to spend some time with Deb. I've heard you say many times you guys are eating Sabbath dinner, from time to time, and discussing different things. So it's almost like I'm just going to assume the two of you doing the show is probably somewhat like sitting around after Sabbath dinner talking about whatever comes up.
Well, for the most part, yeah. It's we're on a messianic network, and so having a couple of Jews just kibitzing around with each other, I think is since I stopped doing my Tuesday morning show last year, I've always felt that I need to be doing something else, but the timing wasn't right on it, and I didn't have the right person to do it with. And so when we were introduced to Debbie and her husband Larry, it's so funny because we got a Larry and Debbie up here too.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. We really connected. We really hit it off. There was really an understanding between us. And I thought, man, and Debbie's been in ministry for years, like 30, 40 years or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So she's got a real good, solid background. And I think our vision for ministry, really connects well with each other. And so I said, well, why don't we do a show together? And, she sang when she's like, woo, okay.
Cool.
I'm in. So we're going to give it a whirl and see what happens. Should be fun.
Yeah, it should be. I don't know, the seeing. I saw the first interview she did with you, or part of it, and probably most of it, and the interaction there, just when the two of you did that first one, I thought was really good. I'm glad you guys decided to put this together. This will be a good one. Shell's new show is really good. As a matter of fact, I was there helping her out on her first show to make sure everything went well, and I sat and listened and to what she was talking about, and worked on the computers here while she was doing all that. And I'm sitting there going, wow, this is going to be really, really good. Even though I had gone and listened to a couple of her videos to get an idea what she did, it's like this was a little different. Shell, your whole countenance on the new show is different than the videos you did on YouTube on your channel. To me, there was a liveliness there. Of course, she's first time she's live broadcasting, and she said she was a little bit nervous. Well, you couldn't have told me that she was. She headed off, and the first part of her show, she's talking about gardening, and it's like, honey, you should be listening to this show. And she was busy with her real estate stuff. So next thing I know, I walk into the other room, and my wife's watching, the archive of your show, because she really wanted to hear what it was, and I ended up watching it again. So her show is great. It's really good. She covers a lot of different aspects, but she's got the confidence she needs to pull off talking about her subject matter, and she knows what she's talking about. So we're thrilled to have her here on the Lamb Network, and she's on. We have quite a few people that watch Robin Gould on Thursday afternoon, and she's on right before Robin. So that's exciting. It's good. We're getting a new lineup here of different things. I've got a couple of other new shows I'm working on, live shows coming up, actually in the same time areas of yours, Daryl, and some new things. And we're building towards our 10th anniversary, and just even saying 10th anniversary, sometimes it's like, really, we've done this solid for 10 years now. That's a good accomplishment. And if I heard that from anybody else, I'd say, wow, pretty good. So I'm excited about that, and having everybody a part of it, and working it through. So,
I just realized, actually, on Saturday was the 10th anniversary of the start of the ministry, A Light to the Nations.
Is that right? This last Saturday?
Yeah.
How about
January 1st, 2012 is when we launched ALTTN. So we're right there with you.
Yeah. It's
veterans.
Well, you veterans. There you go. You got it. Well, things add up, and you're one thing, that's one of my favorite sayings is one thing leads to another. And I constantly realize that that's the way the Lord sets things up, is as we grow and mature in the Lord and in our day-to-day lives is how we end up fitting things together. It's just like Shell knowing Nitsa, who is a vital part of my life. I mean, we talk quite a little bit, and she's done so much for me and my health and in different things going on, and then relating with Shell and putting all that together has been really good. And I love that as far as when it comes to the small world, when it comes to the Messianic lifestyle. And if we could all just learn to put away, and I've said this way back in the Christian days, even when I was in the ministry in Christian days, if we could just put away those denominational hazards, those differences within what we want, our theology and our doctrines and dogmas and all those things. Yeah, it's okay to believe a little differently and have a little different understanding of things, but why do we have to battle over them? Why is there a battle? Why do we have to constantly be on top and want everybody else to believe the same way we have to believe? And that's been my entire ministry from way back, long before I ever even heard the word Yeshua, the name Yeshua, back in the Christian days. It's like that's why I had to be a part of a non-denominational church or an interdenominational church, whereas you didn't have to have a belief system in a specific doctrine just to go to that church. I couldn't do it. It didn't work for me. And I've always loved to talk to people about their differences, and so you believe this. Well, why? It's what's fun. And I know probably both of you have dealt this way, is that you can talk to people about their understanding or their belief in a certain doctrine and say, so why is it that you believe that instead of this? And about 90% of the time, they stumble around what they're trying to say. It's not that they really even believe it or know why they believe those things. And it just fascinated me. For instance, in the 21 years that I've been in the Messianic lifestyle, is that I have met, or I've heard of, so many different leaders with, people that are heads of congregations, or they go out and they teach. They're called to different places to teach, and they have these specific doctrines. And if others don't believe in them, then they are battling over that. Well, I find that if you go to, say, for instance, their congregation, most of the people in that congregation don't even know what that doctrine's about, or how to describe it, or what's the belief of that doctrine. For instance, I learned very early on about the two-house theory. And Monty Judah was my rabbi for years, and still is somebody I talk to every once in a while when I've got questions about things. And I got a lot of respect for Monty. And he was one of the leaders in the two-house movement. He and Eddie Chumney were huge on that belief system. And I understood it. I understood the whole process of how you get there. But it was unbelievable how many different people in the B'nai Shalom congregation that Monty was the lead teacher in, that They couldn't explain to you. Do you believe in two house? Oh, yeah, two house. That's right. That's what we're going to go through. That's what they did back then and all this. Well, why two house? What's it about? Uh, well, I go talk to Monty. It's like, no. Explain it yourself. If you believe in a doctrine, understand why you believe in that doctrine, and it really sparked me early on to delve into that study. I mean, I just immersed myself into the study of why do we believe what we believe. And it's always been the backdrop in anything that I study or I know or I talk to people about. Is I'm always interested in, why is it that you believe that? Where is your belief system come from? What's the process of getting to where you come to this conclusion? And I think it's just wrong when people adhere to a specific doctrine or dogma, but yet they don't know why they do. They do because the rabbi of their congregation believes this, and that's what I believe in.
That's really the essence of the whole book, is that you got practices that you're participating in. Why are you doing them? Here's the background of them. Here's spiritually, here's where they come from and what the original practices were. And what most people do, I think, is they will do something because it either gives them a good feeling or that's what they've been told. Yeah. Nobody questions stuff, or very, very little of humanity questions anything that they're doing. Look what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, that's a fact. It is a fact.
Aren't we warned about that in Scripture, where it says that in the latter times there will be a strong delusion?
Yeah.
And more people, we're accepting things in society now that 5 years ago would have caused rioting in the streets.
Yeah, I agree.
But we've been so conditioned to just say, okay, well, hey.
Yeah.
And I won't try to get us kicked off this morning. So
all right, it's good. I was telling everybody about to watch last Sabbath's teaching that you did, and it's interesting because Daryl, without actually saying my name, it told me that I got to stop listening to my old classic rock music and watching the movies that I watch and all that kind of stuff. So he told me I was going to hell because I listened to all that and watch all that. And it's like, well, Daryl, that's fine. You can tell me all you want, but anyway, no, he didn't, but he did. And so be careful, because if you don't want to give up certain things, don't watch Daryl, because it doesn't work that way with Daryl. So
Michelle's given up everything that she needs to anyway.
That's right.
Going back to just a comment on the tribes, and it's always been important to me that when someone's getting ready, their journey on this earth is done, what they have to say takes on a new level of importance and input. So I've always found one of the first things that hooked me in when I saw this about the tribes and understanding that it is important for our day is that Jacob, this is exactly what he did before he's ready to leave this earth, is give these specific blessings, onto each of these tribes that he says would be for an end days period. And then you also have it with Moses and how he does the exact same things as he's getting ready to send in the second generation, the new generation into the promised land, with Joshua, who he's trained. And he does the same thing and gives this blessing per tribe. So, when someone's getting ready to leave, that's always been really important to me. There's a different level of importance. And I know personally, I feel like I'm probably from that northern kingdom, and I am looking for that reunification. And there's a promise that says at one point that Judah will no longer vex Ephraim, and Ephraim will no longer be jealous of Judah. And I'm looking for that day.
Yeah. Well, Yeshua said that I came back for, this to happen, this to be put together for the house of Israel and all of this. That's why I came back, is to unite. And it's amazing to me that even yet 2,000 years later, we're still battling the same things that they battled during Yeshua's day, constantly battling the same things. It just, I don't know, does it make a difference? Yeah, of course it does. So, all right, what's this? Oh, I see. Thank you, Bob. This is from Bob. Love the pink shirt and bathrobe combo. That's not a bathrobe. My son-in-law gave me this cardigan. Thanks, Bob. It's a cardigan. You can always rely on Bob. Hi, Bob. Yeah, right. Thanks. Just leave it to Bob, I tell you.
All right, next show we'll do Everybody's Got to Wear a Cardigan.
Yeah, there we go. That's right. That's right. Man, okay, Bob, I'm not offended. All right, listen.
Don't take the bait.
Yeah, it's all right. No, Bob's the best. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, we're coming pretty much to a close. Shell's just learning about us, and she's just acclimating into the Lamb community, and we're excited to have you joining us. And
well, hopefully we didn't drive her off this morning then.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I don't think so.
Absolutely not. I am learning, and I'm excited to be a part, and happy to be able to have a good discussion with both of you this morning.
Yeah, great. Well, let me tell you, Nitsa and I just talked a couple of weeks ago, and as soon as she gets done moving here in the next couple of months, she is putting together a whole new show, a new live show, and sending videos, and it's going to be a teaching type show that involves everybody being a part of it. And I'm real excited about that. She's got a whole new area that she's going into that I'm excited about.
I just ordered this book off of her site. I'm so excited. And Daryl, when I just listened to the replay of your show, I heard you really talking about frequencies, and that seems to be what a lot of this is about. And I'm so excited to learn so much more about frequencies. I really enjoyed your show that just replayed, because I was like, wow, this is so much information I've been trying to wrap my brain around.
Love it. Well, if you go ahead, Daryl.
Nitsa and I certainly have been on that wavelength for quite a while, and Robin and I actually had some pretty good discussions about that too. So I think there's a lot of people within the Lamb Network that are really kind of catching on to this. Eddie and Tammy are big on this as well, and understanding how the universe works, I think, is really important, because it helps. Just understanding how anything works helps us to understand how to navigate through it.
Why we believe what we believe.
Yeah, it's the whole spiritual realm. It's such a mystery to most of Christendom, because it's not being taught in churches.
Right.
And that's why I think we're kind of in the mess that we're in right now, is that you got a whole bunch of people who have been just kind of coasting along, and all of a sudden, God just pulled back the cover of protection, and now we're gonna have to work for it. Now we're really going to have to get knowledgeable to understand how to avoid getting, hit by the shrapnel of the enemy.
Yeah,
part of that has to do with frequencies and health and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Nitz and I were having a conversation last night, and we were both, relating to each other that kind of in this new season that we're in, that the need for discernment, on what are we dealing with when we, confront things that are coming from this world, just, how vital this need for discernment
Amen.
is at this day.
I'm with you. That's true. All right. Well, I was going to say, if you missed, I'm trying to get to it here. Give me a second. If you missed Shell's show last Thursday, then I'm going to show you here also Daryl's, and I want to kind of promote this too. What I got going here, always building on the website to make everything easier. Of course, there's us right now live on the website. Everybody wave. Yeah. And if you scroll down here on the website, see there, you'll see the schedule. These are all the different shows. Now, it used to be the schedule. You go in there and click on a show and you go to the archive. Well, I've taken all that out. What you have here is just whether or not it's a live show, a created show, a rebroadcast of shows, and then of course you got all your times for the time zones there. But as you go down, get rid of that thing, you'll see that my new feature down here is the on-demand feature, and it's day by day. So this week, yesterday, Sunday, January 2nd, but you won't get Mondays until tomorrow. But for instance, last week, there's Thursday, if you want to go and hear Shell's new show. There it is right there. You just click on it and it's going to pop up, and look at here. Here it comes right there. Look at there. And that's Shell doing her show. Of course, you got to move in there and see. There it is. And so also on Sabbath is Daryl's show. You click on that and wham, bam, there you are. You're watching Daryl's show. So that's the newest feature that I put on the website. What happened to Shell?
Oh no, she got raptured.
She got raptured. No, Shell, what happened to you? Well, thank you, Shell, for being on the show. And thank you, Daryl. We got to go. I'm right here at the end now. And so anyway, Daryl's show, Creation to Canaan, is on every Tuesday, where he goes back through a series of teachings that he did in 2020, and that's all being rebroadcast on Tuesday morning. So tomorrow morning, look at it on the schedule, the one over there on the website. And then Daryl's also doing his teaching on Sabbath. Your Habakkuk series has been awesome, Daryl. We're going to have to make a series out of it and broadcast it as a series. I love those. I love it when everybody does series, and yours has just been over the top. If YouTube didn't catch it the first time, maybe they'll catch it the second time. And
I keep trying. There.
And anyway, and then Daryl's new show coming up a week from today, in the evening time, called Two Jews, Three Opinions, with Deb, and I'm never going to remember her name.
Haig.
But are you there?
Your band, Deb Haig.
There you go. Your bandwidth has been a little off today, so you've been a little bit jerky.
Yeah, I know.
But it's all right. We understood you. So I got to go. I'm running out of time here. So we'll see y'all next week. John will be back next week. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Let us reason together.